Have you ever felt guilty for wanting a life your family did not choose for you? Maybe you were told, after everything we've done for you, we've sacrificed so much for your future. Don't forget where you come from. And suddenly your dreams stop feeling like dreams and start feeling like betrayal. For many people, especially in close knit families, love does not always come freely. Sometimes it arrives wrapped in obligation, in duty, in emotional debt. And without realizing it, we begin carrying a burden, the burden of inherited family expectations. Today, we are talking about that invisible weight, why it feels so heavy, why guilt follows independence, and how to honor your family without abandoning yourself. Just to be clear, this is not a conversation about blaming parents or rejecting family values, because most of the time, these expectations are not born from cruelty. They come from survival, from sacrifice, from generations that had fewer life choices than we do. But even love, when mixed with unspoken obligation, can become emotionally exhausting. Let's unpack that. Emotional debt, in this case, is the feeling that you owe your life choices to the people who raised you. And it sounds like, I can't disappoint them. I have to become what they hoped for. If I choose myself, I am selfish. It's not written anywhere. There is no contract, but somehow it feels legally binding. You feel indebted for your education, your upbringing, their sacrifices, their struggles, their dreams that they never got to live. And slowly, gratitude turns into guilt. You stop asking, what do I want? And start asking, what will hurt them less? And that's when love becomes performance. That is when identity gets replaced with obligation. Family expectations are often inherited, not chosen. Your parents may expect stability because they grew up with instability. They may push prestige because respect once meant survival. They may value obedience because questioning authority once came with consequences. So when they tell you, be practical, choose security, don't take risks, they may not be controlling you. They may be trying to protect you using the only language they know. But protection can still feel like pressure, especially when your path looks different. Maybe they want medicine, but you want music. They want marriage, but you want healing first. They want tradition, but you want authenticity. And suddenly your life becomes a battlefield between loyalty and freedom. Not because you don't love them, but because you're trying to love yourself too. Now, let's talk about why guilt feels so powerful. Guilt is powerful because humans are wired for belonging, especially in family systems. As children, survival depends on connection, approval means safety. So, when adulthood asks us to separate, to individuate, our nervous system can interpret that as danger. That's why setting boundaries can feel physically uncomfortable. That's why saying no feels like betrayal. That's why choosing your own path can trigger shame because deep down a part of you still believes that if I disappoint them, I lose love. But the thing is that real love should never require self erasure. Love should not demand the death of your identity. And maturity sometimes means learning this painful truth. Someone can love you deeply and still expect you to become something or someone you are not. Living only for approval creates a kind of grief. From the outside, everything looks successful: good career, responsible choices, family approval. But inside, resentment, emptiness, a strange sadness that you can't explain. Because the life you built was accepted, but it was never truly yours. And resentment is often grief in disguise, grief for the person you never got to become, the voice you silenced, the dream you postponed, the version of you that kept waiting for permission. Many adults aren't struggling because they failed. They are struggling because they succeeded in becoming someone they did not want to be. And that is pain, and that pain deserves honesty. And one thing we all must remember that gratitude does not require self abandonment. You can be grateful and still choose differently. Gratitude does not mean lifelong obedience. Love does not require self sacrifice as proof. Your parents' sacrifices were acts of love, not invoices that you must spend your life repaying. And you are not dishonoring them by becoming yourself. In fact, maybe the greatest way to honor sacrifice is to actually live, not survive, not perform, just live freely, honestly, and fully. Because what was the point of all that sacrifice if not to give you the freedom they never had? And freedom is not disrespect, it is often the very gift they were trying to build. And breaking inherited expectations doesn't always require rebellion. Sometimes it requires just a tiny amount of courage. And it could look like having difficult conversations, disappointing people respectfully, choosing boundaries without cruelty, and staying kind without staying small. You may need to say, I love you, but I need to make this choice for myself. This path made sense for you, but mine looks different. And I appreciate your sacrifices, but I cannot repay them by abandoning my life. And not everyone will understand immediately. Some may never fully understand, unfortunately, and that hurts. But healing often begins where people pleasing ends. You are not responsible for managing everyone's emotional comfort. You are responsible for living your truth, your life with integrity. And that takes courage, a lot of it. If this feels personal, if you've been carrying this burden, I want you to hear this. You are allowed to outgrow expectations. You are allowed to choose peace over approval. You are allowed to build a life that makes sense to your soul, not just your family narrative. And choosing yourself does not make you selfish, it makes you honest. And sometimes healing is not becoming a better child. Sometimes healing is finally becoming your own person. And that, simply put, is adulthood. The silent burden of inherited expectations is heavy because it asks you to choose between love and selfhood. But maybe the real work is learning that these two things were never supposed to be enemies. You can love your family without living their unfinished lives. You can respect your roots without being buried by them. And you can break cycles without breaking yourself. Because life is not a repayment plan, and it is your life, and you are allowed to live it. If this resonated with you, comment below with one word that describes what you've been carrying. And if someone in your life needs to hear this, share this with them. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.